Well, it was during his time as U.S. Attorney General that Bobby Kennedy gave one of his most moving and unifying speeches. So let's listen to him speak in his own words about his vision for what America could be.
I must tell you candidly what our policies are going to be in the field of civil rights and why. I come to you in that spirit. If we are to be truly great as a nation, then we must make sure that nobody is denied an opportunity because of race, creed, or color. The Department of Justice will act. We will not stand by and be aloof. We will move. For on this generation of Americans falls the full burden of proving to the world we really mean it when we say that all men are created free and equal before the law. All of us might wish at times that we lived in a more tranquil world, but we don't. And if our times are difficult and perplexing, so are they challenging and filled with opportunity.
All right, that's so interesting. How does it make you feel to hear his voice like that?
I'm pretty used to it.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the advantages of growing up the way that I did. My mom, because people say to me, didn't you have a tough time because your uncle and dad were killed? And my mom, has always said to us, everybody takes their licks, and that, you kids were in a much better position than other people. There's many, many Americans who lost their parents. Yeah. You had a supportive environment. You had religious faith, which is a gift. Right. You have, an education and opportunity, and you have a supportive family, and then you have all these reminders of, your parents that are still around, and there's kids in Harlem or Watts or Appalachia or, places all over this country who lose their parents, who lose a dad from shooting or from drug addiction, and they don't have those things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we had a very, very big advantage. And as you know, life is filled with tragedies, and it's filled with crisis for everybody.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And that, we need to figure out a way to weather those things and to keep an internal peace and to be useful to other people and be of service.
Yes.
And that's how we get through those things.
So important.
What would you say your father, where was his greatest strength that you saw?
He was driven by passion. And if he saw injustice, he got angrier and angrier. And then he went after it. Now, and I'll give you an example. During the campaign, the '60 campaign, Martin Luther King was arrested by a Alabama sheriff. I think it was Alabama or Mississippi, Alabama sheriff, who put him in a local jail. And my father got a call from Coretta King and from Daddy King, who was Martin's father, Martin Luther King Jr.'s father, saying, we think his life is in danger there. And at that time, blacks were basically voting half Democrat and half Republican, because blacks historically were Republican since the Civil War because of Abraham Lincoln. It was only after FDR, after Franklin Roosevelt in the 30s, that a lot of blacks started relooking at the Democratic Party. And my uncle's election was the first where Democrats actually won a majority of blacks, but it was a very thin majority, and it put him over the top. And the reason he won was, at that point, the campaign was saying, we need to win the South. For a Democrat, it looked like Nixon could win the southern states. And that would have sunk my uncle's campaign. He needed to win in the South. And at that time, whites in the South would vote just knee-jerk, reflexively Democratic, and he didn't want to lose that. And if he came out too strongly for aligned too much with Martin Luther King during the campaign, it could have lost him the South. So the campaign's orthodoxy was, we should not be doing that. We should not putting our necks too visibly out for Martin Luther King, even though they were sympathetic with him. My father got this phone call, and he was at home at the time, and he was leaving. And he said, I don't think I can help. He said, let me think about it. And then he drove to National Airport, a 15-minute ride. And while he was driving, he was steaming in his head, thinking of this Southern sheriff who had put him in jail for having a taillight out on his car. And clearly they were going to kill him, or they were going to, harass him in that jail. And by the time he reached National Airport, he was so hot that he called his office and said, get me that sheriff on the phone. And he called the sheriff, and he got Martin Luther King arrested. He said, if my brother is elected, which is highly likely, you are going to regret this decision. You better release him tonight. And he got him released, and Daddy King, that never became public at the time, but every black preacher in the South knew that story thanks to Daddy King within 2 days, and that's the reason that he ended up winning the presidency.
Well, before you leave, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, we would love to hear how the Lord is moving and touching your heart right now. So be sure to comment below, and then share this video with someone you feel needs it just as much as you did.